What if the people who seem to vanish from your life aren't running away from you, they're finally running toward themselves? What if their silence isn't rejection, but clarity? And what if the moment they stop showing up everywhere is actually the moment they finally start showing up for what truly matters? Have you ever noticed how certain people, the ones who always seemed to get it, the ones who understood nuance and depth, suddenly became less available? They stopped answering as quickly. They declined more invitations. They seemed distant, almost detached from the friendships that once felt essential. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Psychologists have found that as self-awareness and intelligence grow, people often undergo a profound shift in how they allocate their time, attention, and emotional energy. But here's what most people get wrong about this transformation. They assume these individuals are becoming colder, more arrogant, or simply tired of everyone around them. The truth is almost the exact opposite. Intelligent people don't disappear because they've decided they're better than others. They disappear because they've finally decided that not every connection deserves their presence. What looks like sudden withdrawal from the outside is actually a quiet revolution happening on the inside. Over time, highly aware individuals begin recognizing patterns that most people never notice. They start seeing the difference between who people pretend to be and who they actually are. They become conscious of energy drains, one-sided dynamics, and the silent cost of maintaining relationships that no longer serve genuine connection. This isn't about becoming antisocial. This is about becoming intentional. And in this video, you'll discover the 4 hidden psychological reasons why intelligent people suddenly disappear, and why the final reason will change how you see this entire phenomenon forever. Reason 1. They start reading people instead of just looking at them. The first reason intelligent people suddenly disappear has nothing to do with arrogance. It has everything to do with a shift in perception that, once it happens, cannot be reversed. Most people move through their social lives on the surface. They take compliments at face value. They believe what people say because they've never had a reason not to. They assume that if someone smiles, they're happy. If someone says they care, they mean it. If someone invites them somewhere, the invitation is genuine. But intelligent people eventually develop something psychologists call pattern recognition, the ability to connect invisible dots that others don't even know exist. At first, life feels normal, conversations seem meaningful, friendships feel solid. But then something shifts. The brain begins noticing the small things that everyone else overlooks. The smile that doesn't reach someone's eyes, the compliment that sounds kind but carries a hidden edge of jealousy, the friend who only remembers you when they need something, the person who says they support you but disappears the moment you succeed. Research in cognitive psychology suggests that as self-awareness increases, so does the ability to detect inconsistencies between what people say and what they do. Highly intelligent people develop what neuroscientists call social pattern recognition. Essentially, their brains become attuned to spotting micro-expressions, contradictions, and behavioral inconsistencies that most people never consciously register. Once your brain starts recognizing these patterns, it's almost impossible to unsee them. It's like learning to recognize a particular song in a crowded room. Suddenly, you hear it everywhere. Suddenly, people don't look different on the outside, but they feel profoundly different on the inside. And that's where the distance begins. Not because intelligent people stop caring, but because they stop confusing surface-level attention with genuine connection. From that moment forward, they become far more selective about who deserves access to their inner world, because they've learned that protecting their peace is often wiser than pleasing everyone around them. Reason 2. They become exhausted by the noise. Intelligent people don't disappear because they suddenly hate socializing. They disappear because too much noise, social, emotional, and psychological, begins to feel overwhelming. Research in psychology reveals something fascinating about highly self-aware individuals. They spend significantly more mental energy analyzing conversations, decoding emotions, and interpreting social situations than the average person. While others hear words, they notice intentions. While others enjoy a moment, they're quietly analyzing the behavior, the subtext, and the unspoken dynamics beneath it. This constant awareness is exhausting. Think about the difference between watching a movie and analyzing a movie. When you watch, you're entertained. When you analyze, you're working. Most people socialize by watching. Intelligent people socialize by analyzing. A casual conversation that once felt exciting now feels predictable because they're 3 steps ahead, already seeing where it's going. A friendship that once felt genuine suddenly reveals itself as one-sided because they notice they're always the one reaching out, always the one caring more. Even crowded rooms begin to feel strangely empty because they can see the loneliness in others, the masks people wear, the performances everyone is giving. Psychologists describe this phenomenon as cognitive load, the mental effort required to process information. For highly intelligent people, social situations come with an invisible tax. Every interaction requires more processing. Every conversation demands more analysis. Every relationship asks them to manage not just their own emotions, but to intuitively understand and navigate the emotional landscape of others. This doesn't mean intelligent people are becoming cold or antisocial. It means they stop finding fulfillment in shallow interactions. Instead of asking, "How many people know me?" they begin asking, "Who truly understands me?" And that single question changes their entire social world. Because the more a person values honesty, depth, and authentic meaning, the smaller their circle naturally becomes. That's why many intelligent people seem to disappear overnight. They weren't suddenly leaving. They were slowly letting go of the wrong connections long before anyone noticed. Reason 3. They realize most people aren't reacting to reality. They're reacting to their own fears. There's a principle from depth psychology that most people never consider. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung once suggested that until we become conscious of what's happening inside our own mind, we'll keep believing that everything happening around us is simply fate. In other words, most people aren't responding to you, they're responding to their own internal world. Intelligent people slowly begin to see this pattern with startling clarity. They start noticing that the person who criticizes them harshly may actually be projecting their own insecurities. The friend who constantly interrupts might not be rude, they might simply lack the confidence to truly listen. The person who demands constant attention and validation might be running from a deeper fear of abandonment. The colleague who seems threatened by their success isn't actually threatened by them, they're threatened by what their success mirrors back about their own unfulfilled potential. This realization is transformative. Once you begin seeing these hidden emotional patterns in others, you stop taking everything personally. You stop wasting mental energy trying to fix people who don't want to change. Instead, you become far more protective of your own mental space. Because you understand that every demand for your attention, every criticism, every guilt trip is often just someone else's unhealed wound being projected outward. Psychologists often describe emotional intelligence as the ability to understand both your own emotions and the emotions of others without allowing those emotions to control your decisions. Highly intelligent people develop this skill naturally. They see the pain behind the anger. They recognize the fear beneath the aggression. They understand that most people's actions are driven by invisible forces they themselves don't fully comprehend. And with this understanding comes a profound realization. You cannot help someone who doesn't want to help themselves, and you shouldn't exhaust yourself trying. This is where intelligent people begin their quiet exit from exhausting relationships, not with drama or explanation, not with anger or resentment, simply with the understanding that some people aren't ready for what you're offering, and that's not your responsibility to fix. Reason 4. They discover that clarity is more valuable than connection. The biggest misunderstanding about intelligent people who disappear is this. People assume they enjoy being alone because they dislike others. The truth is almost the exact opposite. They don't fall in love with loneliness, they fall in love with clarity. For the first time in their lives, silence stops feeling empty. It becomes a sacred space where they can finally hear their own thoughts without the constant noise of other people's expectations, judgments, and emotional demands. Solitude transforms from something to fear into something to treasure. Modern psychology reveals something profound about healthy solitude. Research suggests that periods of intentional alone time can significantly improve self-reflection, emotional regulation, decision-making clarity, and long-term psychological well-being. Highly self-aware people don't fear spending time alone. They use it strategically. They read more deeply, they think more critically, they question their own beliefs instead of blindly accepting someone else's opinions. They build internal validation instead of constantly seeking external applause. And over time, something incredible happens. They stop needing validation from people who never truly understood them in the first place. Because real confidence isn't built from applause or approval. Real confidence is built from self-respect. It's built from knowing who you are without needing anyone else to confirm it. It's built from making choices that align with your values. Here's the truth that changes everything. Intelligent people rarely disappear overnight. They disappear one realization at a time. One day, they stop arguing with people who have already decided not to understand them. Another day, they stop chasing friendships that only survive when they're being useful. Another day, they stop answering every message, accepting every invitation, or sacrificing their peace for someone else's comfort. Without making an announcement or burning bridges, they quietly begin building a life that no longer depends on constant approval. To the outside world, it looks sudden, like a switch was flipped. But inside, that decision has been growing for months, sometimes years. The transformation you see is just the moment they finally stopped hiding it. And this is where most people completely misunderstand what's happening. They assume intelligent people become distant because they think they're better than everyone else. In reality, they've simply become more intentional about where they invest their time, attention, and emotional energy. They've realized something fundamental. Time is limited, mental energy is limited, and the people you surround yourself with quietly shape the person you become. So if you've recently found yourself stepping back from certain people, if you've noticed yourself caring less about fitting in and more about being authentic, don't panic. Don't ask yourself whether you're becoming cold or antisocial. Ask yourself something far more important. Are you running away from people, or are you finally walking toward the life that's truly meant for you? Sometimes the people who seem to disappear aren't getting lost at all. They're finally finding themselves. And maybe that's exactly where your next chapter begins. If this video made you see the people around you or even yourself in a completely different way, then you're exactly the kind of person Sinova Mind was created for. This channel is dedicated to revealing the hidden patterns behind human behavior, the psychology of personal growth, and the truths that most people are too afraid to acknowledge. Subscribe to Sinova Mind for more psychology videos that will challenge how you see yourself and others. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, have you ever quietly disappeared from someone's life? Or has someone disappeared from yours and now you understand why? I genuinely love to read your thoughts and your stories. The comment section is where real conversations happen, and your experience might help someone else understand their own transformation. Until next time, keep questioning the narratives you've been given, keep growing beyond the expectations others place on you, and remember, sometimes disappearing is just another word for finally becoming who you were always meant to be. I'll see you in the next video.